Welcome back to The Explainer. Let's jump straight into it today. We are looking at one of those golden rules of team dynamics. You know, the kind you see printed on break room posters. We've been told it's an absolute law of physics, but as we dig into the data together right now, we might actually find out that this universally accepted doctrine is, well, fracturing teams.
Okay, take this idea. Healthy debates are pivotal for any team. This comes straight out of Patrick Lencioni's incredibly famous fear of conflict framework. Sounds perfectly reasonable, right? I mean, pretty much every HR professional and agile coach out there preaches this as if it's the 11th commandment. It frames conflict as a universally healthy doctrine. So we naturally assume that if a team isn't openly debating, they've got to be dysfunctional, scared, or passively aggressive. It's treated as a universal truth across the board.
But hang on, because here is a really fascinating number. Negative 0.1267. That is a Pearson correlation drawn from a massive statistical analysis. We're talking 51 countries, 11 languages, and exactly 348 rigorous responses. It completely meets the critical reliability criteria, and while we know correlation isn't causation, it reveals an absolutely wild pattern. The highly ambitious, results-driven profile, what the spiral dynamics theory calls the orange vMEME, actively rejects this healthy debate framing. Think about that. The very people who are completely obsessed with hitting targets absolutely do not view team conflict as inherently healthy.
Let's break it down like this. Traditional management treats debate as a strict doctrine. It's the idea that we absolutely must argue to be healthy. We can call that performative dialogue. But a highly results-driven orange profile, they view this purely through the lens of utility. For them, it is all about focused debate. Conflict is just a wrench in their toolbox. You don't use a wrench just to prove to everyone you have one, right? You use it to turn a bolt. If a debate isn't going to drive the outcome, they simply won't engage. They aren't avoiding conflict because they're afraid of it. They're avoiding it because, to them, it's inefficient.
If we break down the behavioral profile even further, the pattern gets super clear. We've got that negative correlation for fear of conflict right at the top. But look at the second data point. Avoidance of accountability actually shows a positive correlation of 0.17. They actively want accountability because accountability drives results. And that third piece, absence of trust, is negative. To this results-focused profile, you don't sit around in a circle holding hands to build trust before you start working. Trust is the byproduct of actually delivering results together.
So, this brings us to the core illusion of modern management. We assume everyone shares the same vocabulary, but look at how completely different psychological stages interpret the exact same concept of healthy debate. The orange profile views it as an instrument for outcomes, but the green profile reads it as relational friction that requires careful repair and safety. Meanwhile, the blue profile believes disagreement should only happen within strict, highly structured boundaries. It's literally the exact same principle, completely fracturing into three totally divergent realities. So what does this actually mean operationally? What happens when a company just ignores these differences? Well, when team frameworks force healthy debate as a universal doctrine, when they prioritize principle over utility, you get immediate friction. The process stops being about productivity. Instead, process becomes performance. The highly outcome-focused, results-driven members look at these mandatory conflict resolution rituals and just see pure theater. And because it doesn't help them hit their targets, they simply stop caring. And that right there triggers an almost invisible escalation cascade. Step 1, leadership demands healthy debate. Step 2, your strongest outcome-focused members quietly disengage because they see it as a massive waste of time. Step 3, you end up with superficial consensus in the room. Everyone's smiling, HR is thrilled, but step 4 is the silent killer, execution drift. Your best drivers have mentally checked out, and the actual work starts slipping, quietly and slowly. So how do we stop guessing and actually fix this? Well, we shift to hard science. Enter the dynamic programming model, or DPM. Instead of your standard subjective employee surveys, this is a rigorous mathematical framework. It basically takes the messy reality of human psychology, our fears, our motivations, the whole shebang, and maps it out like physics. It treats the team as a complex organism where behaviors can actually be calculated and predicted mathematically. The SD Navigator interface is a perfect example of the AI vibe coding trend. This is where natural language prompts are used to build complex apps without traditional code. It maps out the team's psychological state across those spiral dynamics profiles, tracking real-time fear, trust, and well-being. Then it maps out the management controls. By using AI to calculate these transitions, it removes what we call first-tier bias. That's that classic managerial blind spot where a boss just naturally assumes everyone else thinks exactly the same way they do. And to put this into perspective, the engine driving this intelligence holds 13,000 distinct statistical correlations gathered from across 109 countries. It's staggering. A human manager can hold what? Maybe 3 behavioral patterns in their head at once? This model holds 13,000 simultaneous cause and effect links. It knows that taking a harsh management action might inspire a deep respect for efficiency in one profile, but at the very same time completely destroy trust in another, leading to a sudden, unpredictable spike in workplace ageism. It spots those hidden butterfly effects humans just miss. This is a total paradigm shift, a real game changer. We're moving away from linear chainsaw management, where you just blindly cut a cog out to save cash, to dynamically maximizing stability. The math actually proves that forcing a toxic or mismatched culture is wildly inefficient. You can simulate management actions to preserve outcome focus without fracturing the team's alignment. Which leaves us with one incredibly critical thought to wrap up. If an algorithm understands your team's wiring better than a standard HR playbook, what breaks when you continue to force conflict as a universal principle? How will you design frameworks that preserve genuine outcome focus instead of just settling for performative consensus? Let that challenge your assumptions today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Stay focused, and I'll catch you next time.